Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. This is lesson number 52 from the explanation of Bulugh Maram. And inshallah today we'll be dealing with the last hadith of the nullifiers of Wudhu. And now of course this hadith is not exactly from the nullifiers of Wudhu, but it's how to deal with the issues of whether or not your wudu has become invalid or not. Like, how do we know? How do we deal with it? How, if we think that it has, if we, So this is more along the lines of that. This is a principle, a rule of fiqh, and this hadith is the asl of that rule. All right. So, and then we're gonna go over that inshallah as we deal with it, because just to give you an understanding. So everything, it goes back to the asl. So the asl of something, is what's thabit, it's what's known, it's firm, that's what you know. So like for example, if you make wudu, and you know that you made wudu, and you're in a state of purity, then nothing is going to take you out of this state of purity. That you, like doubt does not take you out of a state of certainty. So this is the main rule, the rule in fiqh, which is an al-yaqeen la yazulu bi shak, that certainty is not removed with doubt. Now, of course, these are principles. These are rules that the people of fiqh, when they read through the hadith, and they took these principles out of the hadith. So, and unfortunately today, a lot of the people now, they study these principles alone without going back and knowing the origin of the hadith. So anybody that studies this, or any type of science like this, it's the same thing with fiqh. If we study things in the books of fiqh, like for example, if a person were to study a book that combines like a lot of different masail, like a book like Umdah, or a book like Zad al-Mustaqna, or even a Durur al-Bahiyya al-Shawkani. These types of books, what they do is they bring a lot of the masail of the fiqh, and they put them into one book so the person can have an understanding and grasp and have a decent understanding of the different masail, the different issues in fiqh that he needs to. It gives him a quick answer, but you still have to go back to the evidence and find out where those issues came from. Where did they come from? Where did this ruling come from? Because obviously this type of taqleed for an individual is not permissible. It's not permissible to do taqleed of any person outright. So we have to go back and we have to look at the evidence that the person has presented. So no matter who he is, if he's not the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we go back. And because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, everything that he got is from revelation. So we go back, we have his sunnah. So everything that is from the sunnah of the messenger, from the Quran and the sunnah, we take it outright. With the sunnah, we go back and we check the authenticity of the hadith, whether or not the hadith is liyathbut or la yathbut. So this is very, very important, because obviously we can't build a judgment or ruling on a hadith that is not authentic. So as far as the sunnah, we still have to go back and check and make sure that the hadith is authentic, that the hadith that the person is using for the ruling or for this issue or for this rule in fiqh, that is authentic. So the same thing with these rules. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bi-shak, and and all these different type of qawa'id that they say that the fiqh is, that they take and they call these qawa'id al-fiqhiyya. All of this, we still have to go back and we have to check the hadith. We don't just take these qawa'id outright, because some of these qawa'id they were compiled by Ibn Rajab, and some of them, there's from amongst them, there are qawa'id that were built on a hadith sahih, like this qaida right here that we're going to go over, and there's some that are built and made out of a hadith that are not sahih. So we have to go back and check all of that. We don't just like take these qawaid and just memorize them and just use them without understanding where they came from, what's the adillah. So and that goes with anything, whether it's fiqh. Same thing if a person memorizes like al-aqidat al-tahawiyya. It's a good book, mashallah. It's a very, 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 very beautiful book, Tahawiyah, and it's a book that people should memorize. They should study, and read the sharh of Ibn Abi Iz, and benefit from this book. But you still have to go back and check the adillah, because each thing that Tahawi put in the book, it goes back to a hadith, it goes back to Quran and the Sunnah, these masail, and you have to go back and you have to check it. You have to check it. What's the dalil for this? What's the dalil for this? What's the dalil for this? So we don't just do taqleed outright with anybody from, especially not somebody that came 600 years ago, 500 years ago, or whatever the case may be. Like with these books like Zad al-Mustaqna and all this, where now the people, they just study Zad al-Mustaqna, and then they start giving fatwa from Zad al-Mustaqna. No, you have to go back to the adillah. If you can't find the hadith in Bulugh Maram, then check al-Muntaqa. you know, and you'll find a hadith in Muntaqa, you know, or find a book, find a hadith in the books of Sahih of hadith, whether it's from the Sahih or the Sunan, whatever the case may be. But you have to go back and find the adillah. So this qaida right now is, you know, this is built on the hadith that we're about to go over right now, inshallah. So here is عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يأتي أحدكم الشيطان في صلاته فينفخ في مقعدته فيخيل إليه أنه أحدث ولم يحدث فإذا وجد ذلك فلا ينصرف حتى يسمع صوتا أو يجد ريحا أخرجه البزار. Now this hadith is reported on the authority of Ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, in which the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, the shaitan, he comes to one of you while he's in the salat. فينفخ في مقعدته, that he'll breathe or blow on his backside. فيخيل إليه أنه أحدث. This causes the person to imagine that he's broken his wudu, and now is invalid because he thinks that he's past gas. So then the hadith says, فإذا وجد ذلك فلا ينصرف حتى يسمع صوتا أو يجد ريحا. So he said, if a person finds this, if this happens to him, then he should not leave out of the salat until he hears a sound or he smells a smell. أخرجه البزار. And he said, وأصله في الصحيحين. All right, so the hadith in Bazar, the actual chain of narration, it's not of it is da'if, and there's a little bit of difference of opinion as far as like the hadith and whether or not it's accepted or not. But because of the hadith, there is because the asl of this hadith is actually in Bukhari and Muslim. It's in the Sahihain, and anybody that's memorized Bulugh Maram will be familiar with this hadith. And not Bulugh Maram, I'm sorry, Umdat al-Ahkam. So وأصله في الصحيحين من حديث عبد الله بن زيد. And the hadith that is in the Sahihain, it's an Abdullah ibn Zayd. It came with the lafz أنه شكي إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم رجل يخيل إليه أنه يجد شيء في الصلاة. فقال لا ينصرف حتى يسمع صوتا أو يجد ريحا. So in this case, he just said that you know, complained like أنه شكي إلى رسول, somebody complained to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. A person complained that he imagines that, you know, he finds that in his salat he thinks that he's past gas, you know, and his wudu has become invalid. And then he said the same thing for لا ينصرف حتى يسمع صوتا أو يجد ريحا. So he said he should not leave out of the salat until he hears a sound or he smells a smell. He finds a smell from passing gas. Because once he hears the sound or he gets the smell, then it takes him out of the state of doubt into a state of certainty. Because obviously now he's in a state of doubt, but he has nothing to build that doubt on because he didn't hear a sound and he doesn't smell anything. So it's like, okay, and he's in doubt. Did I not? So these two things, the Prophet ﷺ gave us the advice to focus on these two things as a criteria to take us out of that state of doubt into the state of certainty, or to remove the doubt completely. So if we didn't hear anything, which doesn't, you know, obviously a person could pass gas without sound, but you know, if the person doesn't passes gas without sound, it's very difficult to pass gas without a smell. So the person, once he smells something, then now he knows, okay, wait, now that's not doubt. That is certainty now. Now, it could be another person next to him pass gas, but now the doubt is much stronger to the point where now he's the one that thought that he passed gas. So if he smells it, then he should leave, go make wudu, and then, you know, come back and you know, start the salat over again. And like we discussed this whole issue about, you know, is the person allowed to go back and just build on what he's already prayed or not. But of course the rajih is if they're still in the Salatul Jama'ah, then he catches whatever they're praying. So like, let's say that he catches them, he goes out and he leaves and he makes wudu, he comes back and he catches them in the last rak'ah. So he has one rak'ah, then he'll stand up and he'll pray the next three if it's four, or one if it's two, if it's fajr, or two if it's maghrib. So, but whatever it is, he only has the credit for that one rak'ah that he caught when he came back, not whatever he prayed before he left. So if he prayed one rak'ah before he left, and he came back and he caught the last one, he only has the credit for the one that he caught in the end with the wudu, because he left the salat. So once you leave out of the salat, you can't come back and build on whatever you've already prayed. And we already gone over this issue in a previous lesson. So this hadith, like he said, وَأَصْلُهُ فِي الصَّحِيحَيْنِ مِنْ حَدِيثِ عَبْدِ اللَّهِ بْنِ زَيْدٍ وَلِمُسْلِمٍ عَنْ أَبِي هُرَيْرَةَ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ نَحْوُهُ. and both of them have the similar wording. So because of these two hadiths that are in that are muttafaqun alayh, that makes the hadith here of Ibn Abbas that's in the Akhraju al-Bazzar, that makes the hadith sahih bi-shawahidi, because now it has the shawahid to show that even though the chain of narration is not authentic, but or there's some doubt as far as the chain of narration because of Abu Uwais. And Abu Uwais is a person that's in the chain of narration in Bazzar, so with Bazzar's hadith. So in this case, it's not accepted, but it is accepted based on the shawahid. So without the shawahid, it would not be accepted. But because we have this hadith that is muttafaqun alayh, then these two hadiths that are muttafaqun alayh, one which is from Abdullah ibn Zayd and the other from Abi Hurairah. So one's a Muslim and one's muttafaqun alayh. So because we have these hadiths, these two hadiths, so they function as I guess you could say like a witness to this hadith that it is authentic, and it becomes authentic because it doesn't go against the wording in these two. In fact, the wording is almost similar. The only difference is فَيَنْفَخُ فِي مَقْعَدَتِهِ. So فَيُخَيَّلُ إِلَيْهِ. So here it's more tafsil. It's more description as far as what happens, and as far as the hadith of Abdullah ibn Zayd and the hadith of Abi Hurairah, there's not that type of in-depth description. And he said, وَلِلْحَاكِمْ أَنْ أَبِي سَعِيدٍ مَرْفُوعًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدَكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ فَقَالَ إِنَّكَ أَحْدَثْتَ فَلْيَقُلْ كَذَبْتَ وَخَرَجَ ابن حبان بلفظ فَلْيَقُلْ فِي نَفْسِهِ. Alright, so now we have the last hadith, which is from Hakim and Abi Sa'id marfu'an. Marfu'an obviously it means it goes back to a statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِذَا جَاءَ أَحَدَكُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ. So if shaitan comes to anybody from amongst you, فَقَالَ إِنَّكَ أَحْدَثْتَ. You've broken your wudu. فَلْيَقُلْ كَذَبْتَ. And then the person should say, you're a liar, you lied. وأخرج ابن حبان, and Ibn Hibban also mentioned the same hadith باللفظ فليقول في نفسه, that he should say it in himself, because obviously if the person's in salat and he says كذبت in the salat out loud, then his salat is now invalid. So now he has to start his salat again because he's talked in the salat. So the talking in salat becomes a salat to become invalid if it's not with dhikrullah. So I mean, obviously a person could like sneeze and say alhamdulillah because it's still a dhikr, but to actually talk and say kadhabt, no. And as far as like the person saying even in himself kadhabt, well, I mean the hadith itself, this hadith is la yathbut, is daif anyway. So it's reported in Hakim, it's reported also Ibn Hibban, he reported it, and it's also reported in the Sunan Abi Dawood and the Musnad of Imam Ahmed, all from the same with the same issue. And the issue is with a person named Iyad ibn Hilal, and he's majhul. His state is unknown. And we don't take hadith, we don't take any of our religion from people that we don't know what their state is, or you can't even follow it up. So if you go back, like for example, he says I took this hadith from the sheikh, then you go back and ask the students, maybe that sheikh is not alive. So you go back and you ask the other students of this sheikh, do you know this guy? And they say, no, who is he? We don't know him. So in this case, and then you go and you ask the other students, well, what about this hadith? Have you ever heard this hadith? And they say, no, we haven't heard this hadith. So now, in this case, you reject the hadith based on the jahalat rawi. So here we have this person, he's narrating the hadith, and we don't know who he is. We don't know what his state is, because when you go back and you ask the students, the known students of that sheikh, who this person is, they don't know. So it's similar like to somebody like in our time. Let's just say that somebody says, well, I heard Sheikh bin Baz say this. Obviously it's a lot more difficult in our time to do this, because everything's pretty much recorded and is out on the internet. But just as an example, because even in the times of like the earlier days of Sheikh bin Baz, they had like very, very low quality tapes, cassette tapes. They didn't have the high quality recording that we have now. So, some of this stuff is recorded. Some of the same thing with Imam Shinqiti. You can find a good portion of his tapes that he taught when he was in the university of tafsir. You can find them in decent quality, and others the quality is so bad that you can't make out what he's saying, and then a lot of the stuff gets lost. So for a person to come up and say, like for example, like Sheikh bin Baz said this, and I'm from amongst the students of Sheikh bin Baz. So then you go back and all right, now Sheikh bin Baz in our time, he's not alive, Allah yarhamu. So but he's got a lot of students, a lot of known students, that are alive. So these known students, you go to those students and say, look, I heard this guy, Fulan ibn Fulan, he said, this and that. Have you heard the Sheikh say, do you know who this guy is first off? And if they say no, so now they don't even know who he is. So now in this case, now he's majhul. So it's not going to be accepted from him because he's majhul. But if the students say, yeah, we did actually hear Sheikh bin Baz say this, okay, then okay, now we take it from the students because they're known, but we're not going to take it from him because he's majhul, because his state is still unknown. Now the statement itself might be correct, just like if you were to follow up from a person who's majhul, and you follow up with the different students of that sheikh, and you find out that the other students of that sheikh did narrate the hadith, but the hadith is authentic. So we take it from the students that narrated the hadith that's authentic, from the chain of narration that's authentic. We don't take it from the person who's majhul. So that chain of narration, as far as that person is concerned, is still da'if, but it will be accepted because based on the shawahid, that it does agree with the hadith that the other students narrate, but we still don't know who this person is. So in that case, the hadith is still rejected. So the same thing with the statement that like one of that student of Sheikh bin Baz is not known, it would be rejected. We wouldn't accept it from him. We'd accept it based on the evidence that we got from the other students who said the same statement. So in that case, we would accept it, but based on their saying that it's true, not based on the person. So even if it's something that's on the internet, and a person comes to you and says, well, Sheikh Fulan said this, I read it on the internet, and this person is not a known student of knowledge, like a lot of what you see now, throughout social media. You see all these individuals that you have to go back and check it, and check it regardless if the person's a known student of knowledge or not a known student of knowledge. You still go back and check it. Well, what I say in the lessons, go back and check it, because I'm definitely very, very prone to making mistakes. Very prone to making mistakes, and all of us are. We're all human. We're not infallible, So almost time, we all, we make mistakes. We get things corrected. We make mistakes. So you should always go back and check, regardless. But we definitely outright, we don't take anything that's from a person he's not even known to have studied the religion at all. And you see that now a lot with on social media with these people making all these videos, and these guys have never studied. These guys have never studied. They've studied for a very, very small amount of time. So for the people going around and then turning these people like Sheikh Fulan and Sheikh Fulan and Sheikh Fulan and taking from them outright, and then if you were to go and ask students of knowledge about them that studied in the same place, they will, they're like, who are these guys? So this type of information from these people is not accepted. It's not accepted. You have to take it from people. If you're going to take it from students of knowledge, you take it from people that that are known. So, like, for example, you have, like, from the students of knowledge in America that studied in Damaj, they're known. The students of knowledge, Abdul Hakim, he's known. He's a very beneficial brother. He's got alhamdulillah, he sat in Damaj for a good long time, and he benefited. He didn't waste his time. He's known. So anybody that would go to any of the students in Damaj and ask about Abdul Hakim, everybody knows Abdul Hakim. Take knowledge from him. He's known. You got another brother named Mundhir. Also, he's known. He studied in Damaj for a long time. Studied, alhamdulillah, he benefited greatly. He's known. So these brothers, and these are the ones that I know that are back in America. We got a lot of American brothers that are still overseas. They didn't come back. So I mean, the brothers, they're known. Who studied there, they're known. But then you get another person that studied in Damaj, and you go up and you ask the people and the students in Damaj who this person, and they don't even know who he is. So, or they know him for something that's not good. Like, for example, maybe he was a troublemaker way back in the days, and I could give examples, but I'm not going to, because unfortunately this is an ongoing problem right now from people that are causing a lot of fitna in America. Are people that they did actually study in Damaj for a very, very short little while, or they were even in Yemen for a very, very short little while, and they didn't really do anything. They weren't known for being students that benefited. So the students that benefited, they're known. So the person has the ability to sit with Abdul Hakim, Abu Rayhana, sit with him, benefit from him. Mundhir, benefit from him. I don't know exactly where they're at now in America, but the people who know. I mean, so, but to go and start taking from people that are not known, or not known to have gone out and studied, or have studied for a very, very small period of time, And Allah Mustaan, you got to go back and you have to check things, akhi. You have to go, sometimes you got no choice because of the situation that the person's in, the location, the locale. Maybe this is the only person that's teaching. You got no choice. But still, once you have the ability to go back and check, go back and check. Because if the person is not known, the person is not known. You can't, so the same thing with these hadith. We don't take from the person. We don't take the narration of the person that's not known. We take from the narration of the people that are known to take from that sheikh and known to narrate from that sheikh, and they're authentic, and they've been tried and tested and proven. So Allah Mustaan. Wa ila huna subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.